What's up, guys? So today we are watching this group called His.
Friend Catalan jumped onto the lunch table and shouted,
He's very popular, to be honest. Like 3 million subscribers. I think we're gonna see if he's better than Zach D Films. Zach D Films is good too. But let's get right into it.
"Nothing if you want me." The whole cafeteria went dead silent. He looked down at me, hands on his hips, grinning. "Hear that? That's the sound of a room that wants me." He hopped off the table and strolled toward his crush like he owned the floor. The second she figured out what was going on, she shot out of her chair and started screaming at the top of her lungs. Catalan closed his eyes and nodded. "That's fine. There's plenty of fish in the sea." He looked around for his next victim, and that's when the entire cafeteria erupted into noise. He started spinning around the room, looking for anyone who was still quiet, and that's when his eyes locked on the back corner. The lunch lady stood at the register in her hairnet, scrolling her phone, not making any noise because she didn't know what was going on. Catalan's grin stretched wide as he pointed at her over everyone's heads. She didn't scream. You know what that means. No, there was no way. He started walking, and the whole room turned to watch. The lunch lady looked up, saw a teenager spreading his arms at her, and screamed louder than the whole cafeteria combined. She stumbled back into the soda machine and jabbed her finger at him. "Gerald! Gerald! We got one!" Catalan put his hand on her shoulder and started stroking. "There's no need to worry, baby girl. Papa's home." Suddenly, Gerald, the security guard, spun Catalan around and walked him to the doors. Gerald marched him towards the cafeteria door, and Catalan contorted his body backwards to point at her, yelling, "I'll wait for you, my love. I know you want me, and someday we will be together again." No one...
Bro, what was going on?
You're looking at it.
I was one jump from a new high score in Jetpack Joyride when Mom snatched the iPad out of my hands. Dad towered over me. "You've been playing for 8 hours straight. Go touch grass." My friends groaned from the couch as Mom locked the iPad in a drawer and pocketed the key. "If I somehow see you on this iPad again, you're grounded until college." But as soon as they walked off, I grinned at my friends because I wasn't done flying yet. I led them to my dad's garage, and I strapped 2 leaf blowers to a hiking backpack, taping the whole rig down tight. I will be beating my high score, iPad or no iPad. One of my friends grabbed the straps while I climbed in and hit both triggers. The blowers screamed and knocked me flat on the grass. My friend shouted, "Angle them down, not back." So I aimed the nozzles down and taped a skateboard to my shoes. Every test pushed me higher, a foot up, then level with the porch rail. We had 30 minutes before my parents came back home, and I was determined to beat my Jetpack Joyride high score. I waved everyone goodbye and squeezed both triggers as hard as I could. My feet left the grass. The blowers roared, and I shot up over the roof, high enough to see the whole street. My friends screamed from the lawn, but
Like you can still see the air or something coming out of it.
right as I started counting my jumps through the air, I saw my parents pulling into the driveway. Mom and Dad climbed out and stared up at me. Dad pulled out his phone and my hands locked on the triggers because I thought he was calling the police. But then I saw he was filming, grinning so wide I saw it from the sky. "How high can you get this thing?" Mom cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted up at me, "Make 2 more." I didn't stay in the air long enough to beat my high score, but every Saturday me and my parents fly over the rooftops. I beat them every time, and my dad hasn't told me to touch grass since. I was one jump from a new... My daughter took out her extremely short shorts from her shopping bag. "Look, Dad, aren't these cute? All the girls..."
More romance.
I made one bird noise at lunch, and Sean threw a chicken nugget at my face. Everyone at the table had dared me to do the hawk again, so I tipped my head back and let it rip across the cafeteria. For one perfect second, even the lunch ladies froze. Sean picked up a nugget, fired it across the table, and hit me on the cheek. Do a real talent, bird boy. I could copy any bird in the state. Red-tailed hawk, mourning dove, the angry blue jay outside my window. Even the ostrich boom that sounded so fake my dad had laughed until he coughed. Nobody cared. They just wanted the show. So I shoved my tray away while Sean flapped both arms and squawked into his milk carton. That weekend, our class took a bus to a petting farm for the spring trip. Sean spent the whole ride pecking the air beside my ear until the teacher moved him 3 seats back. We were halfway through the goat pen when a gate banged open behind the barn. Nobody had mentioned an ostrich. It came around the corner at full speed, neck stretched out, feet hammering dirt, headed straight for the little kids lined up by the fence. A farmhand sprinted after it waving a rake. The ostrich kicked once, and he crashed backward into a hay bale. A teacher tried to block it with both arms out, but the bird hissed and swung one huge foot toward her knee. Sean climbed the fence so fast his jacket ripped on the wire. The little kids backed into the corner, crying against the boards, and the whole class went still. My mouth went dry. I knew that hiss. I had practiced ostrich sounds for a week from a nature video because nobody believed a bird that big could boom like a drum. I cupped both hands around my mouth and made the deep call an ostrich uses when it's trying to gather its young. The ostrich's head snapped toward me. I did it again. It forgot the fence, forgot the kids, and walked straight at me, rumbling back with every step. My knees shook so hard my shoes scraped the dirt, but I kept calling until the farmhand looped a rope around its neck. The goat pen stayed silent. Sean climbed down from the fence, jacket hanging off one shoulder. "Do the hawk," he said. So I did. The little kids laughed first. This time, nobody threw anything. I made two idiots in matching outfits walk. My mom ran across the field. I tore open my only Christmas present, and my eyes lit up when I saw the Pokemon pack in my hands. But when I ran into school with it, my friends were already sitting in a circle, ripping theirs open. "Guys, I finally got a pack." I held it up smiling and went to sit down, but Alex instantly pushed me out of their circle. "How many packs do you have?" "Only this one." Alex shook his head while the others laughed. "You need at least 3 for a real pack opening. You'll only slow us down. You can't open with us." He turned around and carelessly ripped his 10th pack open, and I felt my heart break. I watched them toss their unwanted cards to the side and walked to my desk with my 1 pack. I sat down alone and opened it with shaking hands. I peeled back the foil and carefully slid the cards out. A shiny Charizard stared back at me. Before I could even react, Alex screamed from behind me, "Holy crap, Ben just pulled a shiny Charizard!" The whole circle instantly swarmed my desk. "Oh my god!" Matt suddenly dragged some chairs over and the whole circle sat around me. "You can play with us, dude. You just pulled a Charizard." Alex tipped his bag of chips my way. "Take as many as you want." Ryan and Brian spread their decks across my desk. "What do you think, man? Any good?" I sat in the middle of the circle holding my shiny Charizard and couldn't stop smiling. We played for the entire day, my Charizard crushing everyone. Alex high-fived me, and Matt called me genuinely cool. I walked home that Friday still buzzing, but then I saw Mom at the kitchen table. Bills were spread out in front of her. I secretly looked up the value of the Charizard on my phone, $3,500. I thought about how my friends loved me because of my card, then sold it anyway. I tucked the money in chunks around the house so Mom would never know it came from me, and walked into school without it. Alex immediately waved me over. "Where's your Charizard?" I told him I sold it to help with bills, and the whole circle instantly gasped. Alex shook his head. "Why would we even hang out with you then?" He grabbed the friendship bracelet he'd given me off my wrist and turned around, closing the circle so I couldn't get in. But this time I didn't care, because now I knew they never wanted me. They wanted my card, and Mom getting to eat was more important than the approval of fake friends. I tore open my only... I was walking to work when I saw my childhood bully sitting on the curb with a torn plastic cup in front of him. We locked eyes, and he immediately hid his face behind his cardboard sign. Embarrassed, I saw him like this. Darren used to shove me into lockers so hard my ribs broke, and in 4th grade stole my Spider-Man figurine I'd spent all summer saving for. He'd bring it to school and dare me to try take it back, so seeing him made me uneasy. I stepped towards him, and he instantly put his hands up. Jeremy...
If your ribs broke, I would at least go to the doctor, like, not even trying.
I'm so sorry for what I did to you, but I don't want any trouble. People already kick me here. Even if I deserve it, please don't. I noticed the purple bruises around his face, and before I knew it, I was holding out a $50 bill. He shook his head, but I was already pressing the money in his hand and pulling out my packed lunch. What happened 30 years ago doesn't change today. Everyone deserves kindness. Darren teared up. "I don't. I stole your Spider-Man figurine and broke your ribs when you tried to get it back." He tried to hand it back to me, but I pushed it against his chest and stood up. "I hope things get better." I walked away, having no clue what was about to happen next morning. I took the same route to work, but this time Darren got on his feet the second he saw me. He pulled out a brown paper bag with shaking hands. "Look what I spent the $50 on." I flipped it upside down, and a brand new Spider-Man figurine dropped. I went to my community pool and saw my lifeguard Crush talking to another guy. My heart was crushed because I'd been crushing on her all summer and never said a word, but I needed to get her attention to ask her out, so I came up with a plan. I'd fake drown so she could save me. Without thinking, I jumped into the pool and flailed my hands in the air. I was splashing and yelling "help" with the biggest smile on my face, waiting for her to look. She didn't. I splashed harder. "Help! I'm drowning!" I looked over and saw she was laughing with that guy and touching his shoulder. I tried to stand up because my plan wasn't working, but I felt my heart drop. My feet couldn't touch the bottom, and I saw the sign that said 10 feet deep. I accidentally jumped into the deep end, and I actually can't swim. My heart was beating faster. I started kicking, but my body kept sinking. Water went into my mouth, and I started choking. I wasn't faking anymore. I was actually drowning. I screamed for real this time, but the kids around me were laughing, thinking I was playing around. I looked at the lifeguard chair. She still wasn't looking. My head went under. I kicked back up, gasping. I was going to die because I was too pussycat to actually talk to her. Everything started going black. Then I felt a hand grab my arm and pull me up. I was on the concrete. She was doing CPR. Then I heard her voice. Can you hear me? Look at me. Stay with me now. I opened my eyes and smiled. Her face was inches from mine. She was looking into my eyes. This was the moment I'd been waiting for all summer. I was about to ask her for her number, but I felt my stomach turn. I knew that wasn't good, but I couldn't hold it in. I threw up an entire pool's worth of water directly onto her face. She screamed and jumped back. I was so embarrassed. Then the guy she was talking to looked down at me and said, "While you were drowning, I got her number." I went to my community pool.
Which foundation?
The morning of the field trip, my mom taped a phone to my ankle and grabbed my face. My brother Theo sprinted to me after PE, signing frantically. My teacher stole my hearing aid because she thought I was sitting on the front porch covered in blood when 3 cop cars boxed me in. A cop pointed his gun at me and told me I was under arrest for murder. I said, "I know, I'm the one who called it in." He froze. They cuffed me and shoved me into the back of a squad car. As we drove away, I looked back at my stepfather's house through the rear window. The same house where my mom died 8 years ago. Everyone called it an accident, but I was there that night. I was 10 years old when I watched him walk away from her body at the bottom of the stairs. They dragged me into a cold room with a metal table and a one-way mirror. The detective slammed a photo down. The dead man on the floor. "You're covered in his blood, and you called it in yourself. This is the easiest case I've had in 20 years. I slid 2 phones across the table. That dead man helped my stepfather kill my mom 8 years ago. Last week he told my stepfather he couldn't handle the guilt anymore and was going to confess everything to the police. So tonight my stepfather went back to shut him up for good." The detective's laugh died. "I put a tracker on my stepfather's car 2 years ago and followed him tonight. I heard the gunshot, went inside and checked for a pulse, and that's whose blood this is. Then I called 911. I tapped the second phone. A red dot crawled across the screen. Right now he's at the pier about to drop the murder weapon in the river. You have 5 minutes before that gun hits the water and he walks free." He stared at me like I was crazy. "You expect me to believe some kid in a bloody shirt? You don't have to believe me. You just have to move." The dot inched closer to the edge. He snatched both phones and bolted. 40 minutes crawled by. Then the door burst open and 2 cops hauled my stepfather in dripping wet. Water poured off his hair onto the table. He saw my face and stopped breathing. I leaned forward. 8 years, and you never saw me coming. They dragged him out screaming. The detective came back with no cuffs in his hands, just a nod. My 7-year-old daughter's boyfriend saved her life. She came home dressed like a princess and put her
boyfriend
arms in the air. "I want you to meet my boyfriend." I got robbed at knife point, and it became the start of my dream life. I stepped on stage for my stand-up comedy routine and told my best joke. An Irishman walks into
say comedian, I think.
a bar. "We just kicked you out. Why the hell are you back already?" The crowd sat silently with folded arms, and a single cough loudly echoed. I walked off with my head dropped, and while walking home, a man with a knife got in my way. "Give me your phone and your wallet." My hands flew up with the phone. I had all my material in my notes app. This was my life's work. As I reached out my hand, I thought there must be a way to save my phone. "Wait." The man clenched his jaw. "If I tell you a joke and you laugh, will you let me keep my phone?" He shot back confused but smirking. "Okay, deal." I took a deep breath. An Irishman walks into a bar. "We just kicked you out. Why the hell are you back already?" The mugger instantly doubled over laughing, his knife dropping to his side as tears rolled down his cheek. A girl I had never seen before sat down across from me in the college cafeteria and slid a $100 bill across the table. "I need you to pretend to be my daddy." I spit out my Sprite.
What? You pretend to be your daddy? Is that
I'm serious. She told me her name was Mackenzie and showed me photos of a guy named John who had been showing up everywhere she went on campus. When she reported him to campus security, they told her he was not breaking any rules. "Yesterday, he said he knows my schedule better than I do, and it sounded like a threat," she said, tearing her napkin into pieces. "I need to do something before he goes too far." She tapped the 100. I was 26 with gray hair coming in early and wearing a polo shirt and sneakers my own father would have owned. I also thought Mackenzie was really cute, so I picked up the money. "What do I have to do to be your daddy?" She coached me in the stairwell. I'd pretend
Oh my god.
If your name isn't messed
to be her overprotective ex-military father visiting from out of town. "Call me princess, but say it like you would kill for me." She made me practice my daddy voice until she approved, and I would have practiced.
Do we have to say daddy voice, bro? Like, do we have to say that?
all day if she had asked. We were crossing campus when John came around the corner smiling with his eyes locked on Mackenzie like she was prey. "There you are." She grabbed my arm and I stepped in front of her. "Is this the guy you told me about, Princess?" John stopped smiling. "Who are you?" I grabbed his hand and squeezed until he winced. "Her father just flew in this morning." He tried to pull away, but I held on. "I've spent some time overseas and met a lot of guys like you. Stay away from my daughter." I let go and watched him walk away, cradling his hand. That evening I sat in the corner of her study group. I stepped out to grab a soda from the vending machine and came back to John with his hand around her wrist. "You think you're so smart getting some random guy to..." I threw my drink, crossed the room in 3 steps, and punched him so hard that he fell to the floor and did not get back up. The next morning, Mackenzie sat down at my table. "He is leaving me alone." I smiled. "Good, so what are we now?" She picked up her bag. "Nothing. It was a business deal." She walked out. I pushed through my own front doors. I was in my school library I was 400 pounds and waiting for my son to come out of school when his classmate laughed. "Dude, is that your dad? He's literally built like a fridge." Another friend tripped him up and laughed when he fell. "Maybe if your dad wasn't so fat, he could actually help you up without using his walking cane." I looked at my 400-pound self in the mirror and realized something needed to change. That evening, I tried going on my first walk in years, but I only made it to the end of the street before I had to take a break and sit down on the curb, sweat soaked through my shirt.
Bro, that's probably not easy for some people, I don't think. If it's like a short street, then yes, it's easy.
While kids coasted past me on their bikes. "Run, Forrest, run!" I got so angry that I immediately got up and started chasing after them, but my knees started crumbling under the pressure of my own weight, and I instantly stopped and turned around. When I got home, I instinctively reached for the family size of Chips Ahoy, unwrapped the blue plastic, and let them melt on my tongue. My mouth was still salivating when my son walked in. His chin started to shake, and his voice cracked. "You're not gonna give up, right, Dad?" I turned red and shoved the cookies into the trash can. "No, son, no, I'm not." After that, I stopped counting the days I wanted to give up and started counting the pounds I was losing instead. 10, then 40, then 100. And a year later, I pulled into the same pickup spot 140 pounds lighter. For the first time, I shut off the engine and got out to wait for my son by the gate. I saw the same boys on the low wall, and this time when they thought I wasn't listening, one of them turned to my son and said, "I still feel bad about what you told us to say about your dad when you knew he was listening." My son stood next to him. "It was worth it. He heard the whole thing about you calling him a fridge, and he changed the next day. Plus, it had to be done. I was eavesdropping when the doctor told him he had less than a year to survive if he didn't start losing weight." My son had tears streaming down his face when he turned towards me and realized I'd been listening the whole time. We locked eyes, and he whispered, "Something had to change. I wasn't gonna let you die." I was 400 pounds and waiting for my son to come out of school when his classmate laughed. "Dude."
I hope you enjoyed today. I'll see you on the next one.